What's up, YouTube? Thanks for clicking on our channel. This is Common Sense and Logic.
Welcome back, YouTube. I'm Caesar.
You all know me by now. I'm Ronnie, and I'm not even gonna say that you guys. I hope you guys had a nice weekend because in the events that happened with Charlie Kirk, I'm still trying to get over that fact that we lost a great guy, a hero for me.
Yes, first and foremost, condolences to his wife, his two daughters, his family. Rest in peace, Charlie Kirk. It's a tough thing to process.
Yeah, I'm still saddened by the whole thing. So my apologies in advance if we seem a little off today. Not really going with our normal flow. But it is a sad thing for us, you know what I mean? Especially, I guess, for me. I mean, I don't know too much about if you how much you know about him, but I used to watch the guy almost every day. Um, from the very first start that I saw one of his clips, he got a hold of me, man. I learned a lot from him. One of the things that I really liked about him when I heard him speak was that he has a lot of common sense and logic.
Yeah, he definitely displayed that through his debates, his conversations with people, his open dialogue at college campuses. Man, he definitely displayed common sense and logic.
He sure did, and like I said, I learned a lot from him. And let me get this off my chest real quick. I am sad for him, but as a Christian guy, um, I kind of celebrate, because as a Christian, we know that when we die in this earth, we go to the presence of the Lord, and I know that that's something that he knows and he doesn't mind. So he's in heaven right now for sure because of the fruits that he showed in this life. He as a Christian, I have no doubts that he was a Christian man. I have no doubts that he's in heaven right now. So with that being said, you know, we're gonna talk about this and see if we could drop some common sense and logic on all this that's going on.
Yeah, we're gonna attempt to do that. Like Ronnie said, it's been a tough week, so we're gonna be a little off, not our usual selves. Just based on the fact that this is weighing heavy on both of us, and I'm sure on all of you out there that are watching that like our content and our videos.
Yeah. So where do you want to start off with this, man? There's a lot of misinformation going on again. Like I said, there's a lot of deception. There's a lot of conspiracy theories. There's a lot of BS. There's a whole lot in there to unpack on this one. You know what I mean? So where do we start?
Yeah, I mean, I think just start with giving a brief background of who Charlie Kirk really was,
Well,
and then we'll dive into what they're saying about him, what the misinformation is, the lies that are out there saying what he's not.
I never met him in person, but like I said, I watch his episodes almost every day for the past few months. I think since the beginning of the year and even before that, but this year was more like, I made it to where I was seeing an episode almost every day.
Okay.
But I've heard of him since way back in 2020. I would say, you know what I mean, during COVID and all that. Even before that, in 2019, I forget the dates of the whole thing, but he's a good guy. I mean, if you guys see his videos, you can see it right there.
Yeah.
There's no disputing that he's a good guy.
Yeah, but what a lot of people are seeing, the misinformation is they're only seeing outtakes, little clips, little memes, what the mainstream media, what social media,
As always, yeah.
what they want you to believe, because they want to control you and they want to keep us divided.
Right.
So that's what a lot of people out there are seeing, and that's why they dislike him without really watching any of his videos in its entirety.
Yeah.
If you watch his videos in its entirety, you know he was a good man, not one racist bone in his body. He spoke the truth, God-fearing man, and everything he said, it was based on law and scripture. So all this nonsense, these outtakes that are out there, just picking little sentences, they do look bad, but you got to watch the whole video. There's a lot more to it because he's explaining that, and for some reason they just cut that little sentence that he said,
Right.
and it makes him look bad. But that's not the case.
Well, that's common sense and logic, folks. If you see a clip that's, like maybe 30 seconds or a minute,
Yeah.
I mean, you got to go back and you got to watch the whole thing. If you're too lazy to do that, then I'm sorry. Then, we can't help you and you can't help yourself. But you guys got to watch the whole entire thing. That goes with everything, not just him. I mean, any stories that you hear about Trump, anybody, any story. I've heard stories about Democrats too. I don't just latch on the first things that I hear. I go in there and I dive deep into it to see what exactly they're saying. You know what I mean? Like, I don't understand how people do that, but they actually do it.
You hit the nail on the head, man. They're lazy.
Yeah.
They're lazy. People nowadays, they have a short attention span. They come across something on social media, they're just gonna watch a little clip. That's it. They're not gonna click on research on their own to find the full video to see exactly what the truth is, and see, is it true? But that's something I encourage is you people do your own research, critical thinking. If don't just trust what's out there, just look into it, make sure they're not feeding you lies and you're just going off of that. And that's exactly what the case is with this situation right now.
Yeah, it's not hard to do. I mean, most of us spend a good amount of money of time just on social media, right, on the phones. So if you're wasting all that time, then why not do something productive, and educate yourself on it, and you'll find out the truth. I mean, Charlie Kirk, who is this guy? He's a good guy, an influencer. You know what I mean? And he was trying to share that knowledge that he had with other people, and he was doing a good job at it. And for the people that disagree with him, he actually had some communication with them. I didn't really even see him as debates. I was just seeing like they were coming up to him and questioning things that maybe they didn't really understand, and he would explain to them. But for some reason, they wouldn't take that information. It's almost like
They're closed-minded.
they're close-minded, and it's like they don't really want to learn. But yet, how can you not want to learn the truth? It's almost like the Bible. The Bible, it's the truth. And if you look into the Bible, it has a lot of history that has already been confirmed. But a lot of people dismiss the Bible as just like a book, and it has a lot of wisdom. I mean, if you don't know about the Bible, then maybe you should go down the road. You know what I mean? Just start learning from it, question it, but learn from it, and like, don't listen to other people what they're saying about the Bible. The best way you could do it is picking up the Bible and reading it yourself, or maybe go to church. Perhaps church is like a school on the Bible. It teaches you that. If you go to a church where they're giving you their personal opinions, then don't go to that church, because that's the pastor or whoever is up there. That's their personal opinions. It's not going to make any sense. And if you're the type that you want that, then you're never going to learn from God or about God. And why is it that we believe so hard, with full-hearted, we believe in the words of God and His history and what He's done and why He was here?
Yes.
So I mean, I know I'm ranting on, but that's what Charlie Kirk was. His foundation was his faith,
First and foremost, for sure.
so everything else came secondary to that guy, except for his wife and kids. You know what I mean? Because God said it's him, the husband, and then it's like a house. The wife and the family go under all that. And he had that. But besides that, he had a lot of knowledge, a lot of common sense and logic to almost every argument that he made was based on that.
Yes. Believe it or not, I mean, yeah, a lot of people, a lot of the young generation of today, they disagreed. A lot of them disagreed, but believe it or not, a lot of them started to agree with him, and he turned around a lot of people. And you could see it in the presidential election of last year, where 4 years ago, the youth went with Joe Biden, the youth vote. But with his being out there and talking to the kids on campus, the students, he changed that around, where last year, this presidential election, Donald Trump led in the youth vote, and that was greatly in part to Charlie Kirk.
It was, yes. There's no denying that. I think Trump himself has not really denied that in full part. Um, but this whole thing about killing someone over what? You know what I mean? Like I can't wrap my mind around that. You know what I mean? Like they actually kill somebody. Just this is the perfect example of freedom of speech because he did not do anything more than that. He was simply going to college campuses to talk to the students there, and not once have I ever seen him or heard him going after someone, putting them down, talking smack to them.
Yeah, it was the opposite. They usually talked smack to him, and he was composed, cool and collected, and replied respectfully all the time.
He was the exact role model that the Bible talks about of being compassionate, patient, and loving. He did all that to the fullest. And naturally, man, you're gonna see him, maybe get a little upset. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I've
he
seen that.
sometimes, yeah, he would just go off the energy that they're giving him. So
Yeah,
they're like attacking him.
but who
Yeah,
doesn't?
yeah, who doesn't?
Who
But
doesn't?
I
I
mean,
do it, man.
but
Come
even with
on.
that, he still composed himself in a
Yeah,
respectful way, and didn't degrade anybody or anything like that.
right. I mean, we're humans, man, and we're so easy to trigger, especially if you don't believe in God. I was like that before. I was way easier to trigger, man, when I used to talk to people about anything. But now, you know what I mean? It's like the only thing that pisses me off right now is when people, like I said before, this channel is not about being right or wrong. This is all just common sense and logic. And that pisses me off more when I have a talk with somebody and I don't see any common sense and logic. They just want to be right no matter what. And it's right there in their face, right in front of you, and they just don't want to grab it.
Right.
They want to just stay in their own thinking, and that's the only thing that pisses me off. And I know it pisses a lot of people off, but some of us can handle it better. Charlie Kirk was a perfect example of that. He knows how to handle that. You know what I mean? And there's tons of times that he got pushed like, oh my gosh, you know what I mean?
Almost every time.
I don't know how he took that.
Yeah, almost every time people would attack him, call
Yeah.
him name calling, and it's crazy. But he encouraged open dialogue and freedom of speech. He encouraged that, right or wrong. He shared his views. Right or wrong, he accepted the views that you were giving him. But it was all communication. When we can't communicate without violence, then we've entered a very dangerous period.
Yeah, if you look at his clips, his channels, almost all arguments that he had, he's not really even giving his own opinion. It was common sense and logic, and that's what pissed off the other people that didn't want to agree to that.
Right.
Which is the thing that I'm saying that I don't understand why. If I understand when somebody gives you an opinion, you don't want to take it. I understand that. You know what I mean? But when it's like, I'm not even saying when it's facts or truth, because sometimes you're right. Like, what is truth to some people and what is facts to other people, right? But common sense and logic, that's for everybody. And if you don't see that, like, for example, look, there's a lot of people out there that were celebrating this, right?
Yeah, we're gonna get into that for sure.
And who was celebrating, man? Who? You can't say that it was us. And by us, I mean the right side. Look, I don't care, man. Look, most of us on the right side, Republicans, Americans, freedom lovers, God loving people, we don't celebrate that. Not even if the worst kind of person would, be assassinated, we would never celebrate that.
Yeah, that's a disgusting thing to do. Celebration of somebody's death, especially when it was done in front of their family. In front of his wife, in front of his two daughters that witnessed it. People to celebrate his death is it's the lowest form of life. I mean, you're below. You're not human, man. You're as human as that bullet that killed him. It's just disgusting. I have no words.
I mean, I have a lot of words for that,
Yeah.
but for what? You know what I mean? Like, the thing is that people celebrated somebody that got assassinated for his freedom of speech. These are the same freaking morons that go out on the street and create freaking riots, burn the American flag, graffiti all over the walls. You're the same people that went against him right now for the same thing that you're supposedly crying about, that is your freedom of speech. How does that make sense? How is that common sense and logic?
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that are getting fired from their job right now because of what they posted on social media, like celebrating and being all happy about what happened. And guess what they're saying? They're crying about it. Oh, I got fired because of my freedom of speech. I can't say nothing on social media. Are you not freaking listening to yourself? You're celebrating someone that was actually fighting for the cause of freedom of speech. How does that make any sense? Am I in the loss for this, or what?
Yeah, freedom of speech doesn't what do you call it, protect you from repercussions. If you're gonna go out there and celebrate on social media, there are gonna be repercussions. Freedom of speech is protects you from the government being arrested. That's freedom of speech. But when you're celebrating somebody's death, which is not acceptable, your employer can choose not to be affiliated with you and fire you. I mean, it doesn't have to do anything with freedom of speech, because freedom of speech is protecting you from the government and being arrested. This has nothing to do with it. You're celebrating. You're a disgusting person by celebrating someone's death. The employer has the right to fire you.
Think about it, man.
It's common sense.
If I own a company and one of my workers, I saw him that he's posting something like that, celebrating somebody's death, like, yeah, he will be out of there, dude. Because to me, there's something wrong.
Yeah.
I'm your boss, and if something happens to me, and you don't like me, what are you gonna do? You know what I mean? Like, that's insane. It's pathetic, to say the least, in my part. And you should get checked. You get your freaking head checked. You know what I mean? Because there's something wrong.
Yeah, celebrating somebody's death is you're just completely desensitized of any violence, man. You're pro violence, and that's something's wrong with your head.
I'm staying away from telling you about Charlie Kirk because you could easily click on his channel and find out for yourself exactly who he is, how he spoke, how he handled all those arguments, how he handled all the mistreatment that he got from other people that didn't, align or didn't agree with his ideas. Like, you're gonna see it right there, but you're gonna see it. Nobody needs to tell you anything negative about him or positive, because you're gonna be able to see that just like I did. That's why I started to listen to him, because I saw nothing wrong with this dude, except for common sense and logic and really good ideas and the love that he has for this country. That amazed me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I said before, that's what got a good grip on me, and I started listening to him. You know what I mean? It wasn't just because he's a Christian guy, because there's tons of people out there that claim to be a Christian, but they really aren't. And that's a whole different subject. You know what I mean? Because a lot of people out there that don't even know anything about God, our creator, you don't even believe in him, yet you want to stand up and you point fingers to who's a Christian and who's not. How in the heck does that make any common sense and logic?
Yes.
And those are the arguments I'm talking about. You know what I mean? Like, they make arguments and it just doesn't make any sense, man. Like right now, you know what I mean? It's like there's a lot of conspiracies out there about what happened. There's a lot of, this side did it. No, this side did it. No, Trump did it. The fact is that we lost a good guy. Whether it's fake, and we're going to get into that right now, whether it's fake or it's real, the point is, and we're going to break it down right now, we lost him, okay? Whether he's in heaven or he's still here, we lost a good guy.
Yeah, he's definitely Charlie Kirk was a leader, and I mean, spoke the truth. He was just out there, inviting, encouraging open dialogue, and that's freedom of speech right there. He accepts, he listens to your view, he tells you your view, or what, based on what he believes and ideals and stuff like that. But I mean, that's pretty much the the breakdown of them.
And we said it before on I think it was the last video. Freedom of speech is what it says. Freedom of speech. I don't believe freedom of speech is anything with any sort of action tied to it. I know you guys are gonna say, because you probably know and you heard it from the news media, right? Because you guys are good at listening to things like that. That burning the flag, it's freedom of speech. Again, it's not, because it's an action. And anytime you have something like that, where somebody is using their freedom of speech but gets attacked physically, if there's any kind of action, that's not freedom of speech only. That's more than that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, not agreeing with other people's ideals and beliefs is that's never a reason to resort to violence. In my opinion, and violence is never the answer. You know, once we've done that, there's just chaos and anarchy, really.
Yeah. So there's people disrespecting him by celebrating, and there's other people disrespecting by saying it was a fake, it was a false flag. And my question to that is like, why? How do you come to that conclusion? I mean, you guys are. It amazes me when I see this. I'm not really a social media type of dude, you know what I mean? Because it just sickens me, you know what I mean? I don't read other people's comments because it just doesn't make any sense. It's like there's a lot of people saying, "Oh, it was fake," and look at this clip and look at this other clip. Okay, but you don't say why do you think it was fake? Like, not as to why you're gonna break down that clip you're seeing. What I'm saying is, like, if you think it's fake, why? Why would you think this is a setup, a false flag? Like, why would Charlie Kirk fake his own death? Like, I don't get it.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't heard too much of that. I'll let you run with that because I really haven't heard of it being fake. I just know he was killed. I know he was shot in the throat, in the neck area, whatever it was, the left side of his neck, and he's dead.
Well, yeah,
I go off of that.
I go off that too. But like I told you guys in previous videos, I don't just go and look at our side. I look at everything, right? And if because I've seen some videos that are somewhat, and I'm being honest and real with you guys, somewhat questionable. You know what I mean? So let's break it down real quick. For the people that say that this is a false flag, the only reason my common sense and logic is telling me that would be the case is that they got to him. Okay, the people that doesn't like people like Charlie Kirk, that inspire and influence other people to think straight and to go the route that we should all be going. You know what I mean? We don't want to be divided. We want to be for America. We want to be for people's rights. So Charlie was doing that, and part of the government doesn't want that. They want us divided. You want to know why? Start looking into that. You know what I mean? And when I say they got to him, is like, look, he did a lot for that last election, like you mentioned before, right? Possibly he's the one that helped Trump win, right? So
with the young vote, right?
With yeah, I mean, it wasn't just young people that he was reaching. You know what I mean? I'm not that young, and he won me over.
But the majority of the majority, is lost.
Right.
On colleges, all they teach is leftist ideals and
right.
Liberal, whatever.
100%. Yeah, exactly.
Him reaching out to the college students.
It was huge. It was huge. So, and I'm gonna say this: the Democrats, their fear was that he was going to continue doing that, and possibly the next election they were going to lose it again.
I have no doubt in my mind that he would have been the next, not the next, but a future U.S. president, just based on what I see him.
Yeah.
Speaking out there, he was, man, without a doubt, he was going to be the next, not the next U.S. president, but a future president of the United States.
So when I say they got to him, look, they want to silence him, okay? And he was the type that he if he told this guy, don't say this, don't go out there. I the way I seen Charlie, I don't think he was like a guy that would so easily fold and say, you know what, yeah, I'm not gonna do it. You know, I got threatened, I'm not gonna do it. I think this guy was solid as a rock. But I think that when they got his wife and kids involved, then you tell me what right husband, a man that cares for his family, kids, would not do anything possible to not have any sort of harm around his family. So for those that say that this was false flag, maybe that's why. Maybe that's why. You know what I mean? That's the only logical way of him to say, hey, I'm gone. Because he was threatened with his own life and his family's life. That's there's no other reason why he would fake something like that. There's no reason why the left would fake something like that. There's no reason why the right would fake something like that. You know, it just doesn't fit. And for the ones that say that, you know, it was because they took him out, they it was real, they took him out, and Trump and the right, that has something to do with it. And the only thing that they're spewing out there, it's the Epstein files again. And we covered that in a previous video. If Trump was on that list, why wasn't it exposed by Biden and his administration before? Like, I don't understand that. You're going to tell me that the Republicans and Trump had something to do with this just because of that? Are you insane? Yeah, like, they could have exposed that before. I don't get it.
Yeah, that makes no sense. If that's what if they're basing that view on those on that, you know, I don't believe that. But like I said, I haven't heard too much of the fakeness, or you probably know more about it than I do.
Well, because, you know, I like I said, you know, I don't know how I get it, but I get those feeds, you know what I mean, that show that type of stuff and conspiracy and all that. So, you know, that's why I'm talking about it. I personally don't think that it was a fake false flag, but, you know, I'm just talking about it because for the idiots that are out there saying that. And if you're gonna say that, say, have some kind of thought behind it. You know, I know you're not gonna have no evidence, so I'm not even gonna say have some facts or the truth. Just explain to the people why you think that it was a fake, because that's all I'm hearing. Oh, it was fake. But why? Why would he do that? Why would anybody do that?
Yeah.
You know, why would Trump want him? You know, I hate to say it and question it, but why would he want to be involved in that? Again, because what all I hear is Epstein. If he was on the list, again, they could have exposed him a long time ago. Knowing everything that the Democrats have been doing to Trump, just to, you know, get him out of the office, why wouldn't this major thing that he's on the list, why wouldn't they use that? You know what that would do to everybody that believes in Trump? A lot of damage. You know, he would lose a lot of his supporters. He would lose me. Because, you know, that says that he's been lying this whole time, denying that he wasn't involved. You know, why would the left take him out? Let's move on to that. Why? Because they don't like Charlie Kirk. They don't like people like him. They don't like people speaking the truth. Those are the only people, man, that have more to gain by this. I'm sorry, but those are the people that have a lot to gain by this. Whether they used a puppet, a pawn, you know, I don't know. But it's hard for me to believe that, you know, the way things are playing out, that someone just took it upon themselves to do this whole thing. And usually, you know, like, if you know anything about history, Martin Luther King, JFK, Lincoln, we go way back to Lincoln. Why was he assassinated too, dude?
Yeah, he was pro non-slavery. His whole thing was
unity.
Yeah.
He was all about the people. He was all about America. And it seems like every single person in the past that has wanted the same thing, unity, the American way, no division, something wrong happens to them. If you don't believe me, look it up. Take some time. It's easy to find those things, you know. But again, Charlie spoke the truth, and he was for Trump. Don't you think that the left hated that? Who do they have on their side? Nobody. They have nobody good on their side.
Yeah, they're out of aces, I guess as you would say, right? They're out of aces. They don't have anybody up and coming that's really gonna be a leader on the left. So watching Charlie Kirk go, he's been around. He's 30. He died at 31. He's been around since he was
You're a kid.
17,
Yeah.
17 years old, and he's been being out there, boots on the ground, just doing the work. So he definitely was a great leader. So the left has every right to be afraid of him. He spoke the truth. He knew how to communicate with people, and that just scared him.
And when we say that they have something to do with it, look at how they talk about it. Look at how they influence people out there. The words that they use to describe people like Charlie and Trump and us that support Trump. Look at what happened in the past. They were all calling for us to be attacked only because we were wearing a MAGA hat.
Yeah.
That's how they inspire you freaking dum-dums out there that have no common sense and logic to go out there and do stupidity. That's why we blame it on them, because of the words that they use to influence you to do this idiotic actions.
Yes, I strongly believe that if this was actually done by an individual that killed Charlie Kirk, I do believe the rhetoric coming from the left had everything to do with it. Just putting it in people's head out there, fascists, Hitler, Nazis, which is totally untrue. We got to stop that rhetoric, and it's harmful. It's untrue. It's harmful, and look what happened. What's it come down to?
Again, if you don't believe us, it's not our opinion. You could go back and look for those clips, and you'll find them. Everybody, from Hillary to Maxine Waters to Obama. You know what Obama said one time? He said, I think it was on the first time that Trump was running. He said, "Go to your neighbor and quote. This is a quote. Go to your neighbor, get in their face, and argue with them." Tell me how that's not inspiring freaking dumbasses out there.
It sounds like it's inspiring violence for sure.
And then he says another quote that he said, and this is a quote. He says, "If they bring a knife to the fight, we bring a gun."
Yeah.
What kind of freaking talk is that, man? Yeah. You know what I mean? And you guys bite on that, and you see it when people would go up to Charlie and talk to him. Look, man, we could tell who a liberal is, and these guys would and you could see it in their face, like they just wanted to go and grab him by the neck right there.
Yeah.
Only because
full of hate, for sure.
For the hate, and what hate is that? The hate that they're hurt, and the hate that they don't like being wrong. I don't understand that.
Yeah, they're closed-minded. They when they're giving the evidence that they're wrong, they double down on still on what they're talking about. They don't want to. They don't want to prove that they're wrong. They don't want to. They double down and they keep going, and they're just closed-minded.
You guys got to change that, man. It's okay to be wrong. It's okay to be wrong. You don't always have to be right. I don't always have to be right. That's how I learned. You know what I mean? I was one of those dum-dums too that used to just listen to the news and run with it and talk smack. I used to talk about Jimmy Carter all the time. Back when I was in high school. And he wasn't that bad of a guy, but they sure did paint a bad picture in my mind, you know what I mean? To the point that I hated that dude. Same thing that, like they did with cops and all that. There's a lot of brainwashing going on with everything, but
no, you're talking about Jimmy Carter or Ronald Reagan?
No, Jimmy Carter.
Okay,
Yeah,
because he was a Democrat.
yeah.
So so you were a Republican back then, and you hated the Democrats. What you're saying?
No. I don't like he. They used to say that he wasn't that good of a
Yeah,
president,
supposedly he was the worst president of all time. I
right?
remember that, but he was a Democrat, correct?
Right. But that just goes to show you that for me, it just doesn't mean that
Yeah.
I'm gonna hate you and disagree with you only because you're on that side. You know what I mean? It's common sense and logic. That's what I'm talking about. And the same thing with Reagan too.
Yeah.
They did the same. You know what I mean? Because when we talk about the deep swamp, it means both sides. We don't just say one sided. When Trump is there in the swamp, he's got swamp monsters coming out from both sides. But that's a whole different, talk story later.
Yeah.
But I lost my train of thought. What was I talking about?
You were talking about well, we were talking about Jimmy Carter. That you were
No, we're talking about like do your own research and find out. Just don't listen to people what they tell you about. Half-ass stories. We mentioned this before, and we told you in the beginning that we're a little off right now. I'm still off right now. You know what I mean? Because of what happened, and I'm still trying to like figure out why is it that this happened. I mean, as a Christian guy, there's questions from everywhere. Like where was God in this point and all that. But I could deal with that because I know that my Creator God, He's involved in this. And for the believers out there that are listening to this, we don't worry too much about it because we know that this right here, look, it's gonna get worse. Put it that way. And Christian people, they know what I'm talking about. It's gonna get a lot worse before our God Creator comes and takes care of all this that's going on. But we need to change the way we think, the way we talk to other people. When we get into little talks and arguments, and again, when we're talking about being right and wrong, it's not about that. Just use your common sense and logic. There's a lot going on right now. There's things like there was 2 politicians that got killed in the beginning of the year in Minnesota.
Yes.
Melissa and I think it was John something. I mean, you guys could look it up. I'm not lying. You guys could look it up. Just say politicians that were murdered in 2025 from Minnesota, and you're gonna get it. But there's a lot of talk that why is it that Charlie Kirk is getting all this attention when those people didn't get so much coverage from the media? Well, use your common sense and logic. You know what I mean? Who were they? What did they do? You know what I mean? Yes, they're people. Don't get me wrong. I wasn't happy about it, but they weren't really doing what Charlie Kirk did.
Yeah, it was pretty regionalized. They were known in their state, but outside their state, they weren't known at all. But we didn't celebrate their death. I'll tell you that much. We didn't celebrate their death, and the reason it wasn't out there is because they weren't that well known. Just speaking truthfully, and that's not a reason for them to get killed. But we didn't celebrate their death. We're saddened by their death. It's nothing to celebrate about, even though they're on the other side, on the left, but we on this side, we don't celebrate if it's on the left or whatever. For any reason, we don't celebrate anybody's death. It's just disgusting to think, inhuman to think that people do that. That's my biggest frustration.
Yeah. Well, so they're saying that why is it that Charlie Kirk is getting all this coverage? Well, blame the media for that. They're getting a lot of ratings for this. They know that a lot of people like Charlie and they're going to watch it. So blame them. Ask them why didn't they give those other people, coverage like they are doing for Kirk, for Charlie Kirk, So you trying to switch this around and make it about Republicans and Democrats. When we told you about the news media, they're a bunch of puppets. Dish it out with them. Ask them why they're not doing it. Just like us. You don't see us crying about, those awards that they had last night, the Emmys, I think. Not one word about Charlie. Not one word. Hollywood. But we all know that's Hollywood. That's Hollywood puppets. We know that.
Yeah.
So we don't care about it. We don't expect you to. We all know that they don't care. And even if they do care, that's why they're puppets, because they tell them, shh, don't say anything. We don't want you to talk about this. And they'll do it. They'll do it because they're puppets. They want the fame and they want the money. But that's their problem. That's their issue, not mine. But for people to be upset because he's getting a lot of coverage, then again, take it out with, don't take it out on us, on his supporters, on the people that, that like Charlie.
Right.
So there's a lot of misinformation out there, a lot of hate. There's just a lot of stuff going on, and for us, we're not about that. Republicans, the ones that we're on the Trump side, America side, we're not about that. You don't see us going out there rioting, right? Burning shit down.
Yeah, no, we don't answer with violence or burning down our city or community. That's all you see on that side. It really is protesting with violence.
If something like this would happen to the opposite side, I guarantee you, all you freaking morons out there would be doing,
Oh yeah,
a lot of damage out there, a lot of chaos.
It'd be riots on the streets right now, for sure. And we saw it with the criminal the criminal that was killed, George Floyd. They started rioting, and there was no peaceful protest. It was all rioting, burning down communities, attacking people, and what have you. You know.
It's exactly right. You guys did that. Remember that? All you liberals did that for who? Look,
for a known criminal. Yes, it's horrible the way he died, but it's no excuse to go out there and violently protest and burn down your own communities and what have you.
Yeah, you guys did that for a person like that. We're not doing that, and I hope that we don't do nothing like that. I hope that there's nothing that'll happen even close to that. Not even a smudge of that, because we don't do that type of stuff.
Yeah, violence. Answering violence with violence is never the answer.
It's not. And we had that one young lady that got stabbed and killed on the train too, over in I forget where it was.
I think it was South Carolina, I believe. Or
yes,
was
you're right.
Memphis or South Carolina.
You're right. Yeah, it was.
Or am I thinking Memphis because of what Trump came out today with? He's going to clean up that city, but I think it was South Carolina.
It was in the Carolinas for sure, and something happened there with that lady, and
she just got killed. She got stabbed without reason. Some nutcase. Was it the bus or the train? I'm not sure.
Train.
Yeah, he just stabbed her in the neck or in the back. I'm not sure where. But.
And why do I bring that up? Because it was a white girl that got stabbed and killed by a black dude, and other black people happened to be next to her when it happened.
They didn't get touched.
The only reason why I'm bringing that up is that I know 100% that if it would have been on the opposite way, where it was a black girl that got stabbed by a white dude,
there would be protests.
You guys would be burning. You guys would be burning stuff down right now. I'm trying to watch the language that I'm using, but
yeah,
that would 100% would be happening right now, and you guys don't see that.
Yeah, you definitely got to. Yeah,
those are the common sense and logic that we're talking about. There's people out there that saying, "Ha ha ha, Charlie was all for the Second Amendment, and look what happened." Well, you know what? He never backed away from that, because that's for the people. He was always about us. So for you to say that it's bad karma for him that happened because he was all for it, that's freaking nonsense.
Ridiculous.
Dude.
Yeah. I mean, his stance on that was, we have the rights to have guns to protect ourselves from a tyrannical government. Tyrannical government where they try to control you, so you're able to protect yourself.
Here's some more common sense and logic. If you want guns banned because of what the left is telling you to do, not because of the actions you're seeing, because they go by that. So you want guns taken away from us. What about knives then? You know, the black guy killed a white lady, a white girl, with a knife. So are we gonna take knives away too? Drunk
Yeah.
drivers, are we gonna take alcohol
Are we
from
gonna take
you?
the alcohol away?
You
Yeah.
guys won't
No.
like that, right? So let's take all that stuff out there and take your freaking liquor because you guys kill people when you're drunk driving. Take those knives away. How about freaking chopping off your freaking hands because you could kill people too when you knuckle up with somebody? How about that?
Yeah.
Where does it end?
Where does it end? Yeah.
Your freaking common sense and logic, it's a brick wall. It doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah. Guns don't kill people. The bullets don't kill people. The people
Behind it.
behind it pulling the trigger are the ones that kill people. And it's, yeah. I mean, it's common sense. People, come on.
And again, what is it that the left came out saying after what happened with Charlie Kirk? What was their number one thing that came out?
Gun control.
Gun control. Common sense and logic, man. You know, if you guys want to spew anything out there but the truth, then at least, well, it's not going to make any sense. But you know, it just amazes me how people just talk out of their ass without any freaking common sense and logic in it.
Yeah. Do your research, people. Look into it, man. Do some critical thinking. Don't just don't look at clips and videos or off of what other people say and go off of that and start celebrating somebody's death just based on that. It's, dude, do your research. That way you always know what what the truth is. You know, just do your research and based on the research that you do, then decide. But don't make a judgment or a judgment call prior to that and celebrate somebody's death because you absolutely know nothing about that person and think just based on what you hear. It's disgusting. I just can't get over that. I'm kind of glad they did that because they exposed themselves. We know who the demons are. We know who the evil people are out there celebrating. It just says everything about you. If you're celebrating somebody's death, it says everything about you. You're not human.
Here's more common sense and logic. How come I haven't seen? Maybe I missed it, and I'll research it. But I did, and I haven't seen a lot of Democrats come out and condoning what happened. Not only the shooting, but the people that are celebrating. Like you would think that they would come out and say, "Hey, this is all wrong. You guys shouldn't be doing that."
I've seen a couple. I just off the top of my head, I can't even think of their names, but there have been some that come out and condone the violence, and that's never the answer. But yeah, there should be a lot more. For sure.
I think that there should be a lot more, and it should be like immediately right
Of
after
course,
when it
yeah.
happens, not freaking hours when you're being already called upon.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because who doesn't do that, right? There's, if you say something and you don't regret it immediately, then you don't regret it until somebody comes and tells you about it, and then you sort of kind of like apologize or say something. To me, that's almost like fake.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened with one guy on the one past. I don't know if he's a pastor on the left or whatever, but his name is Jamal Bryant, I believe. He at first he gave condolences and said a prayer for the family. But a short time after that, he completely reversed. But guess what happened? He started getting calls from his supporters that they're not going to give him money. So he quickly changed his tune. He quickly changed his tune where he started calling Charlie Kirk racist and what have you. And because guess what? He wanted that money back. He's a total fake. I believe it is Jamal Bryant.
Well, like the Bible says, there's nothing new under the sun.
Yeah.
And you know what happened to Jesus Christ? Judas sold him out. Judas got paid to give him away. And his regrets, way after that, he took his own life. So it's not new. You know what I mean? Jesus Christ got killed, crucified because of what he was speaking. Unity and truth and love. What's so wrong about that? There's nothing wrong about it. And to murder someone like Jesus Christ, like that, that should blow your mind.
Yeah, they might have killed Charlie Kirk, but his voice will live forever, in my opinion. I think it woke up a lot of people. Now he's got, I think there's for his company Turning Point USA. There's like 32,000
Good for
people
him.
asking for 32,000 new chapters on campuses or on for their Turning Point USA campuses.
Hallelujah. Because the Bible says that too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? What what the devil, what evil means for bad, God turns it into a good always. And he never fails in that. And that's what's happening right now.
Yeah, a lot
It
of
was,
people are definitely rising up and supporting his cause and his voice. And like I said, another good thing about it is it exposed the evil out there, exposed the people who are laughing, who are celebrating. At least we know who you are now, man. And going back to the people that got fired, we know who they are and who the ghouls are, the heartless ghouls out there are.
yeah. And, today I've been trying to watch my language. I was reading Proverbs and I think it was Galatians of the way we speak. And that's why I'm trying to watch my language right now because God says don't talk down to people. And it's hard to do because we're human and we get passionate about things. You know what I mean? But Charlie never did that. And on TV, like I said before, Democrats tend to do that because they want to feed you guys that fire to go out there and be violent and to go after people that are not doing anything wrong to you guys, except trying to help you guys. Like we're trying to help you guys. I don't think we're giving you guys too much of our opinion. We're trying to make it fit with common sense and logic. If you guys are gonna hate us because of that, I mean, that's the point. You know, that's the whole point about this. We're asking you guys to come on this channel and hear us out. And if you have anything that you don't agree with, well, just don't say, you guys are wrong and, you guys are, whatever you're going to say, back it up with something, with common sense and logic. Because maybe we're missing something. And I always say this on every video, you know what I mean? It's not about being right or wrong. You guys could actually help us out. And we're trying to help you guys out in times like this to use your common sense and logic and not get lost on all the deception and all the tricks and all the lies, all that.
Yeah, man, they killed a great man, a great mind. He had a great mind, a great leader, a servant of God, and it's horrible to think that. But his voice was not killed.
They'll live on.
It's as powerful as ever now.
Yeah.
With what happened, his supporters, the people that believed in him, they're gonna keep what his ideals were, his beliefs. They're gonna keep it going.
Yeah. I mean, they're going to have to do a lot of killing, man, to get rid of all of us out there. Because we're going to keep speaking the truth, man, whether you guys like it or not. And we know we're not trying to get all up in your face or anything like that.
Yeah.
But, on the videos that we made so far, there isn't that many comments. But I guess some people are kind of, close to us, they have kind of watch it and they kind of disagree with stuff. But when they're put on the spot, they really can't say too much because it doesn't align to the common sense and logic. And we all should try to do that. Anything you hear, anything you do, try to align it to common sense and logic. That is going to help you out. That is going to make you a different person. To the Christian people out there, you guys should already know what we're all about. The truth, Jesus Christ, helping others, loving them, no matter what. Hard to do, but we got to do it.
Yes, people out there, common sense and logic tells you violence is never the answer. Let's learn to to have a conversation between each other, and whether you agree or not, shake hands at the end. That's fine. Everybody has a right to disagree, but to kill somebody over it is it's just ridiculous. It just shows how weak you are, how afraid of the other person's ideals were, and it's there's no common sense and logic behind that.
And for the last time, look, I'm not blaming anybody that thinks that way. I'm blaming the people that are feeding you that. there's people behind it that are making you to be that person.
They just want to keep you divided, man. They want to control you and keep you divided, so they feed you lies and do your own research, like I said before, critical thinking, and make a decision after you actually do some research and research it yourself and look into it. Then decide on your own, and then yeah, we'll go off of that.
We're gonna keep making these videos, and you know, like I said, bring any subject to us, and we'll break it down, and we'll align it to common sense and logic, whether we're right or we turn out to be wrong. I mean, I don't see how that would be, because we're going to use your common sense and logic and our common sense and logic, which should be the same, and align them. So let's do that. Let's stand for the truth, whether it comes from the left or the right or whoever. But let it be the truth, nothing else. And we'll see where it takes us. Because if not, things are going to get a lot worse. And, again, it's not going to come from our side, because we don't do that. It should have already been there if we were going to do it, because a lot of us are really pissed off with all these things. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll keep on praying, hoping, and just trying to communicate with each other, man.
Once again, my condolences to Charlie Kirk's family, and
Yes.
rest in peace, Charlie Kirk.
We love you guys. We love him. We miss him.
We might revisit this topic again, because I'm sure, what do you call it? Facts are going to unfold about the killer and what have you, and there's more to come. But stay tuned. Thank you for tuning in. We'll leave it at that. And yeah, use your common sense and logic, people. And once again, violence is never the answer.
Yeah.
When disagreeing with somebody.
All right. So I guess we're gonna cut this one now, and thank you very much for joining us. Leave us a message, and share with people. See what they say. See what they think. Hopefully, it'll help someone out. All right. Love you guys.
Thank you guys for tuning in.
Peace.